think we may have a hiccup at the moment, which may delay. So Chris, you have a talk amongst yourself, because I think we may have a bit of a... I've heard drivers being summoned to race control.
So the cars are released from their rolling start and they make their way down the hill already in this reverse grid. And Ben Winrow, as I suspected, has got himself into the lead quickly. A bit of a puff of brake smoke or tyre smoke as he locks up ever so slightly as he comes down the hill. But Simon Sharrock still sat there in second. I'm out of breath after running back from the loo, but oh, somebody's gone very wide and onto the grass. Couldn't quite make out which car that was on the stream there, but thankfully didn't make any contact. That was heading down to the left-hand kink at Island Bend. But Ben Winrow is doing what I suspected that he would want to do, but Stephen Clark, I was expected to do the same. He sat there in fifth, just behind David Yates. So David Yates is up into third place. A good start there for the number 15 car. Sharrock from pole has done well to hold on to second. And 710, Jake Paul sat there in third position ahead of Stephen Clark. David Yates, race one winner, number 62, Don Henshaw. And David Yates has been passed now by Stephen Clark, so Stephen Clark gets himself up one more spot. Up they go towards Druids Corner, the right-hander under the trees. Their first lap in this 25-minute race. Ben Winrow's lead has just evaporated now. Simon Sharrock, number 8, is directly with him. And it is the 710 Jake Paul. But Jake Paul was having a look there in this 710 car, trying to see if he could get himself up along the inside of the pole sitter Simon Sharrock, but wasn't possible. Down they come as one continuous thread, and David Yates is looking up the inside of Stephen Clark, but Stephen Clark just keeps his footing around the outside of Cascades and was not going to give that one up without a fight, and he holds on to fourth place. And now we've got Jake Paul diving up the inside of Sharrock, and Stephen Clark was going with him there as well. So Stephen Clark, from defending, is about to try and make up a place, and he's done it. He's up ahead of Simon Sharrock. So up into second goes Paul in the 710 car. Stephen Clark up into third place. Ben Winrow, meanwhile, still in the lead as they make their way towards Britons. Sharrock in fourth under pressure from David Yates, the number 15 car. And Henshaw, the race one winner, just behind them. But over the hill, they'll come any second now. And it will be blue with the red wheel trims that's going to have the lead. Just about Stephen Clark looking out the outside of Paul as he comes down. And he dives up the inside and takes that second place. So Jake Paul down to third at the moment. Now Ben Winrow may have the lead, and apparently it was these lead two that came slightly to blows in that final corner. Pushed them both wide into the gravel, which sent them tumbling down through the order, bearing in mind that they both led the race at different times in race number one. This time neither of them will want a repeat of that, but both of them will want that victory just as badly as each other. They're sat very tight together in the championship standings when they came here, and the comment being is that closest rivals, they're third and fourth respectively in the championship standings, but here they are, sat first and second respectively. David Baldwin down through the order at the moment. He came through in 8th place last time round. And he's now down to 9th because Caroline Everett just got past him up into 8th place. So the championship leader is not getting the race he wants this time round. So this is great news for Stephen Clark and Ben Winrow. Caroline Everett second in the championship standings to David Baldwin, getting past him this time round. So that was a very important move by Caroline. As they disappear around to Shell Oils. My stream is sort of staccato at the moment, so I'm not able to fully follow that as it's disappeared down the far end. But it's now Stephen Clark that's in the lead. So Stephen Clark, number 25, takes that lead from Ben Winrow. So the number 25, red, white and blue, takes the lead. In third place, a bit of a lock-up from our race leader as they came down towards Hislops, and the 710 Jake Paul in third. Oh, just gets a little bit out of shape, but the cars behind him weren't close enough. David Yates and Don Henshaw. And it looks like we've got the metallic turquoise, Mark Roberts, number 33, just behind them. Hi, Ian.
I'm back, yes. You're not going to get any interviews over the PA with that last race because there's some scrutineering going on. So I was released to come back to the box.
Fair enough.
And they'll do their own. They'll still be on the podium, but won't be with the PA. Okay, so
Ben
where are
back
we?
in the lead. Ben Winrow's just taking the lead back again. So through goes 1, 2, 4 just before they got into your view. So these two are do-si-do your partners back and forth with each other.
Yeah, so been a good afternoon for the Winrow family at the moment, hasn't it? So 124, Ben Winrow leads over the line at the end of the third lap. Just Stephen Clark, number 25, in second place. Did I hear you say something about Stephen Clark having had a judicial in the earlier race?
Ben Winrow. So the Winrows haven't had a great day, really.
Oh, what happened?
He got penalised for making contact with Stephen Clark.
Right.
It was 2 penalty points and a formal reprimand, but that is why you find that 9th place finish for Ben Winrow, despite leading at one point, and Stephen Clark, he'll have finished 7th, and yet they were leading, and that was contact on the final corner from those two.
Yes, well, I remember talking about it, but I couldn't see which cars. I could work out which cars it was, but I couldn't see it happen because it was a cloud of dust.
Yes, quite.
Right, so still got the 16 cars that arrived, circulating. Caroline Everett has just done the fastest lap of the race.
Wow.
In 7th place.
Don Henshaw just swept round into 3rd place then, brilliantly, round Shell Oils.
He's having a good day, isn't he?
Yeah.
And having won the earlier race.
So he's had to start in 10th and he's got up to 3rd, but that was a fantastic move around the outside at Shell Oils.
He's clearly driving like a man inspired.
Yes.
And
I like the fact you said inspired, not possessed.
No, I wouldn't be able to judge on people being possessed, whatever they might be possessed by. So, Ben Winrow, Stephen Clark, and David Yates is 3rd, or was 3rd at the start of the lap.
I think he's lost a whole load of places. We'll have to wait for him to come across the line to see how many.
Well, the leaders then making their way through Druids, and have broken well clear. Now, it's a bit tempting fate to suggest that a gap as big as that can't be closed down, because all gaps can be closed in catering racing, it seems, but there is quite a big gap that's opened up between the top two and the main pack. So here come the top two over the line at the end of their 4th lap. Ben Winrow leading Stephen Clark, and then a couple of seconds later or more, along comes Don Henshaw, number 62 in third place. Mark Roberts, number 33, is fourth. Fifth is number 710, Jake Poole. And in sixth place is number 9, Caroline Everett. David Yates, number 15, is seventh. And eighth is number 4, David Baldwin, championship leader, arriving here, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, and it's not gone to plan. And yeah, so 4 places lost by David Yates last time round. Stephen Clark gets into the lead now, so the 25 got a good run down Lakeside and gets past Ben Winrow. And they're kind of doing what I suspected they'd attempt to do, and that was get themselves clear whilst the other lead cars are trying to get through. These cars are starting ahead of them in the reverse grid. Because they really were starting out of place by being so far forward after the shenanigans at the end of the last race, really. But they're not really working together, are they? I wouldn't say either.
No, I think Don Henshaw, having made progression from starting 10th to being third place with a bit of clear road ahead of him, might be able to do something about winning this one.
Although I've got to give a shout out to the 33 car, Mark Roberts, who's largely staying with Don Henshaw, doing a great job there in fourth place, who just ran a little bit wide as I talk about him coming out of Knickerbrook, but nothing too dramatic. Caroline Everett behind him at the moment. Remember, Caroline Everett was second in the championship standings when we arrived here, and so we'll want to make up as many places as possible over Baldwin, who sat down in 8th place, but there's only 2 places between them at the moment.
So in typical Caterham fashion, there'll be a lot of place changing, but the meaningful place changing will come later on. There's 15 and a quarter minutes remaining. Leaders go through, and it's Stephen Clark from Ben Winrow this time around. Don Henshaw closer, he's definitely getting closer, and Caroline Everett again, that is her, isn't it? Yes, again sets the fastest lap. As she moves up into into 5th place in car number 9, ahead of Jake Poole.
Yeah, and has managed to gap Jake Poole quite dramatically as well already by that stage, so her eyes are clearly set forward. The next target is number 33, Mark Roberts. Now, what are we seeing from the cars behind? They are slowly reeling in the lead too, aren't they? Clark and Winrow, that are having their own tussle.
Well, certainly the gap has come down between the top 2 and third placed Don Henshaw.
Yeah, when you consider that then Roberts behind him went quicker, and Caroline Everett went quicker again, so this could get interesting very soon.
Small gap opening up, first and second, you'll see as they come down towards you.
Yeah, here they come in towards the right-hander, the first stage of his lops. Yeah, by Caterham standards, you're right. There's probably about 2, 3, 4 car lengths there, I would say, as they get back on the power, or both of them run wide. The problem is once one of if the car in front runs slightly wide, it tends to make those behind do exactly the same. But didn't really cause them any issues. But they need to be mindful of track limits, I'm sure.
Well, you've said that phrase. I don't think it's been mentioned all day.
I agree. I don't think it has.
Which is quite extraordinary, really. Well, it's excellent to know that, but can we get to the end of the day without any track limits offences?
Oh, Ben Winrow's just run very wide at the last corner. Somehow it hasn't lost him a lot of space either. I don't know how that happened.
Okay, leaders come through for the 6th time, and Don Henshaw is now within a second of Ben Winrow. Wow, 0.949 of a second. Good going, isn't it?
It is. Here they come down towards us, and yes, that gap between 2nd and 3rd, which includes 4th and 5th, interestingly, has gone fairly minimal, to be honest with you, as they came down towards the left-hander at Cascades. Along Lakeside they go.
Change of lead. Going into Island Bend, through into the lead. I don't know how significant the lead goes Ben Winrow. Just casually drafted past, retook the lead. And it's 5 in the leading group, I would say now.
Definitely 3. There's a small gap to Roberts and Everett at the moment.
Nah. It's not a gap in Caterham terms. See, as you see, here they come. I know there's a small one.
Although we got Caroline Everett looking up the inside of Roberts down towards The Hislop chicane wasn't on there, so they settle in, and at the moment Winrow 1-2-4 has the lead from Stephen Clark, but Don Henshaw's there. He's got the flavour after the win earlier today. Stephen Clark's the one that's got a good run out of Knickerbrook, though, heading up Clay Hill and out of my sight.
Lower down, Jake Poole's lost a couple of places. He's dropped down to 8th in car 7-10. David Baldwin had moved ahead of him. He's been David. Leaders heading towards Lodge Corner for the 7th time. Ben Winrow is the leader over the line this time. Stephen Clark in 2nd place. Well, it's really rather pointless though. There's 5 cars in the leading group, and any one of them could be leading at any given part of the track. So it's Winrow from Clark, from Henshaw, from Roberts, from Everett over the line. And looking at, so he wants to join in, is David Baldwin, number 4 in 6th place.
Yeah, I mean, he's a long way back at the moment, but got past David Yates. If those two work together, because both of those are incredibly quick cars, aren't they, that they could reel in these 5, and especially as they're fighting amongst themselves as Stephen Clark goes, and that gap just disappeared quite quickly, didn't it? Ben Winrow just made sure there wasn't a Caterham width beside him.
Yeah, the leaders then out of Shell Oils. Great pictures you get at Oulton Park, images with all the trees and the greenery around the place. Now they come out of Britain's and over Hilltop. Back with you. Show they are, Chris.
Yeah, they're coming down the hill towards me, and it's sort of just a steady line. No one's making a move this time, so they're all keeping themselves in line. But definitely, it is Baldwin and Yates that are about to make this a 7-car train any second now. Well, both the lead 2 run slightly wide coming out of Knickerbrook again this time round, but that doesn't unsettle them too much as they go up Clay Hill. But it's about to be 7 for the lead.
Go along with that. Not all at once, they'll have to wait their turn. You can't just leap from 7th to 1st.
They'll try it.
At Oulton Park. No, you might try it at Silverstone, but I don't think it'd work here.
I love the story of Stephen Clark when we were at Silverstone a couple of weeks ago and these guys were racing, and he said that he forgot he was in the caterer and he went into Cops where he'd used to be taking that in this supercar flat out, didn't even lift. And then he got into Cops partway through and went, oh heck, I'm not in the supercar, and he had to somehow just wrestle it, run wide. He just had to accept he's going to run wide, but his throat was in his heart was in his throat. It just scared the bejesus out of him, and he remembered the next time.
Interesting. Right, the leaders you've got at Cascades.
There's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, is it?
Change for 3rd because Henshaw's been passed by Roberts, so the 33 car goes up into 3rd. And it has become 7 cars, hasn't it, without question. Caroline Everett's under pressure from her championship nemesis there, the number 4 car of David Baldwin. Remember, Baldwin first, Caroline Everett second in the championship standings.
Right, well, the train makes its way into Britain's, and then there's another group of 3 cars, but the main focus is on this leading line of cars.
Yeah, they're coming down towards me, and I thought Stephen Clark was half looking at Winrow, but I think he was more defending against the 33 car of Roberts, because Roberts came down either thinking he did have a chance or at least trying to psych Stephen Clark out, and that's actually unsettled Roberts more than him as he exits Knickerbrook, and so it puts him back into the clutches of Don Henshaw, the number 62 car, race 1 winner, sat there in 4th place at the moment.
I think I'm right in saying this is Mark Roberts' first outing since Brands Hatch much earlier on in the season. He's been away for whatever reason, I don't know.
Yeah, good point. You're right. Donington and Brands Hatch, and then we haven't seen him at Snetterton, Mondello, or Silverstone.
No. But going well.
It's good to see him go to Mondello as well, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Championship round, that one.
Brings back memories of the BTCC going there.
Yeah.
We used to go to it. So, Ben Winrow leads over the line for the 9th time, and his leading margin 0.111 of a second. Up to 3rd place has come Mark Roberts then. Down to 4th has dropped Don Henshaw. Caroline Everett is 5th. And 6th continues to be David Baldwin at number 4.
Caroline Everett to Oulton. She's got out of shape on the exit of Cascade because she was passed by David Yates. So Baldwin's up 2 places ahead of Everett now because Baldwin's up into 5th, Yates up into 6th, and Caroline Everett drops down to 7th place at the back of that pack.
That kind of happened to her in the earlier race, didn't it? At one point,
it did, but thankfully this time I don't think she's got any damage because we did see her suddenly with bodywork hanging off after the first race.
Yeah. The fastest lap is now in the hands of David Yates. Not last time, it was a few laps ago at 1:55.012. In, I think now from what Chris said, 6th place.
Yes, I would imagine yes he is because he's passed Caroline Everett. But Ben Winrow has got about 4 or 5 car lengths lead.
Oh, right.
At the moment. Now obviously that's Caterham car lengths, not full-blown cars, but again he's run a little bit wide on the exit of Knickerbrook as the sun comes out and beams across the circuit over this side, and the shadows of the trees just loom across the circuit, but up they go, and Ben Winrow's trying desperately to see if he can escape the horde behind. But we know, Ian, that he might do that, but it will disappear again.
And he knows that too.
Yeah.
There's no harm in trying and trying and trying, but breaking a slipstream toe is not easily done in Caterham racing. So through Lodge Corner, they make their way. Ben Winrow still in front as they complete their 10th lap. 5.5 minutes on the clock. And it's Stephen Clark 2nd, Mark Roberts 3rd, Don Henshaw 4th. Up to 5th has come number 4, David Baldwin. Up to 6th has come David Yates, number 15. And down to 7, dropping a couple of places as Chris described, number 9, Caroline Everett, now 7th.
Well, as you were talking us through that, up into 3rd has gone Don Henshaw. He did it into turn 1, Old Hall. He threw it up the inside and he was able to take 3rd. But also the lead is going to go the way. We thought that Ben Winrow had a big lead. Nope, he wasn't able to do it there, Stephen Clark. He's had to slot back in again. But the problem is, Ian, is that there are times when the slipstream will just throw you to go there, and you have to go for it, but it doesn't always work when you want it to.
No, well, they're all still there. The order may have shuffled a little, but no, we haven't lost anybody from this 7-car cavalcade of Caterhams. That's what I thought.
Leaders coming down towards me here, and it's now a very defensive Ben Winrow trying to shake off the attentions of Stephen Clark, but the slipstream is still there. So they go through the 1st and 2nd phases of Hislops, and they've got a small gap again over Don Henshaw. And interestingly, our championship leader, Baldwin, the number 4 car, it's not gone brilliantly for him this weekend, and he's ready to try and rise up through the order by the looks of it. He was all over the back of Roberts.
Just under 4 minutes still on the clock as the leading cars make their way through Druids under the vehicle bridge towards Lodge Corner. And coming through then to complete their 11th lap, and it is still Ben Winrow leading. And he knows he's done enough Caterham races to know that leading into the closing stages isn't always the right thing to be doing. Stephen Clark is 2nd, Don Henshaw, as you said, back up into 3rd place, Mark Roberts out to 4th. No change in the order behind.
Not for the want of trying, and in fact that's possibly cost him there, is that I think that was Baldwin, number 4, was trying to launch a challenge on Roberts down at Cascades, and that possibly left him vulnerable there to, I think it was David Yates was going to come back at him. I didn't see, no, he didn't pull it off, so David Yates still sits there in 6th place. Again, it shows that darned if you do, darned if you don't. A very different line there from Stephen Clark as he got in towards Shellors, I noticed. And it meant that Don Henshaw was tempted to have a snifter up the inside, but it was as though Clark was trying to take a lot more speed out of the corner. Well, I think Britain's kind of negates that somewhat, doesn't it?
There they are, back with you.
Yep, snaking from one side of the circuit to the other as they come down from Hilltop towards Hislops, slicing their way through somehow in exactly the same order, just all trying to make sure they don't wash out as they go through this phase. Oh, and the one that did wash out slightly was Roberts. The 33 car just let the tail feathers hang out a little bit there, but kept it together under control, but that's not the quickest way through that corner, I venture.
No, but it doesn't really matter in the group that he's in, does it? Yes, he would have cost a bit of time, but he's quickly made that up again as the pack continues to circulate in Linus turn more or less formation. And next time through, they'll be starting their last lap, and they'll be going through any moment because the leaders are through Lodge Corner and onto the last lap. Onto the last lap go that seven-car train. The order then: Ben Winrow, Stephen Clark, Don Henshaw, Mark Roberts, David Baldwin, David Yates, Caroline Everett are the top 7. They're all safely out of Oulton Corner, heading down the avenue into your sight, Chris.
Yeah, down they come, all sort of behaving themselves fairly calmly there this time, although it looked like that Baldwin was again fancying a bit of a nibble at Roberts as they got towards Cascades, but it wasn't full-blown just yet. But they must know they're onto their final lap, and so now they're probably going to be looking for that Dan Dare lunge, the one last move that they can make.
Okay, well, they're at the moment negotiating Shell Oil's hairpin. No changes there, nor will there be at Britain's chicane, unless somebody makes a mistake, and they haven't looked likely to be doing that. So they're all safely through there. And I think that I would suggest that Ben Winrow has enough of a lead to be home and dry. Is that a bit ambitious to say that?
No, he has, hasn't he? He's suddenly appeared with quite a lot of daylight between himself and Stephen Clark this time round as they come through. In fact, Stephen Clark's probably going to have to be more mindful to make sure he can hold on to that second.
Yes.
As the cars just look a little bit looser through this section now. As they come up, they've got to be exhausted. To fight this hard for all of that time has got to be exhausting.
Right, leaders into Druids. Oh, the leader singular now. By Caterham standards, that is a large lead as he comes through Druids. He's putting a mighty charge on this final lap, and it's paying dividends. Down they go towards Lodge Corner, and it'll be a desperate late lunge, which wouldn't work to try and go through on the inside going into Lodge. And so Ben Winrow goes through up Deer Leap and comes up to the checkered flag. He's going to win, not by very much, but he's going to win all the same, pulling out of the slipstream alongside him as they take the flag. Stephen Clark takes second place by 0.125 of a second behind Ben Winrow. Don Henshaw, winner of the earlier race, takes third in this one. Mark Roberts, number 33, is fourth. Fifth is David Baldwin, number 4. Sixth is 15, David Yates. Seventh is number 9, Caroline Everett. In eighth place, number 710, Jake Poole. In ninth place, number 8, Simon Sharrock, and in 10th place, not featuring as prominently as he did in the earlier race, number 71, John Shiverell. 11th, number 36, Rob Good. So hopefully that'll be a result that can be preserved for Ben of the Winrow family. From Stephen Clark and Don Henshaw. Right, I think this is a call for a podium.